Okay, so here's the deal. SharePoint Workspace, some of you or most of you should already be familiar with it somewhat. That is what we are now using to house a lot of our information, where we have a lot of different people across campus that need to interact with this information. So we have a SharePoint Workspace. Those of you who are on the CRC committee, you know that we contact you and ask you to vote in SharePoint, or we ask you to review items in SharePoint, things like that. The more you use it, the more comfortable it starts to become. But I know in the beginning you're thinking, oh my God, another place to log in, another digital thing or whatever. But believe it or not, it's actually extremely helpful for us. All the different data and information and items that we deal with, being able to house that someplace where everybody who needs to touch it can touch it, and create master versions of it so that we don't have to keep sending out updates and things like that, has been a blessing. It's been huge. So here's the login information. A lot of you, when we send out your emails, and you got some from Felicia already, I think most of you got one the other day, a reminder about the next CRC meeting and things like that, we'll always put the link in it. What I advise you to do is when you do log in, and a couple of things about it, first of all. One, SharePoint can only be accessed from a CTC computer that is attached to the server right now. Because apparently, according to IT, when we purchased it, we didn't purchase the pieces to do it on the outside. So when you log into your computer with your CTC login, you'll be able to access it. If you can't access it, let us know, because there might be some permission issues or things like that. But other than that, you should be able to access it. Once you access it, you can either save that page to your favorites, which is what I suggest you do. Save it in your favorites, so whenever you pull up your Chrome or your email, you can actually see it up there and click on it. Or you can actually right-click while you're on the dashboard, and it'll ask you if you want to create a shortcut on your desktop. Say yes, and it'll be a shortcut right on your desktop. If you click on that, it'll take you right back to that first page of SharePoint, right? Now in SharePoint, this is what it looks like. Right now, this is our Curriculum Review Committee SharePoint page. We have other SharePoint pages for other processes that we do, like articulation agreements and things like that. But this is specifically for Curriculum Review Committee members and department chairs who want to find out the status of what's happening with their programs or their courses or things that they've submitted, right? So in here, we put some updates, we put information. You're also able to go in here and vote if we have an e-meeting and some items come through after the CRC meeting that have to be voted on. And we kind of guide you a little bit and tell you what's going on. We also put other items in there, like updates from the state and things like that. So one of the pages, as you scroll down on that same page, you'll see a series of folders. You'll see documents. There, when you see documents, is where you'll see information about the e-meetings, the curriculum updates, the co-board awards, things like that. Right now, because of the way the CRC works and because of the reporting component for SACs in the state, we have to organize these documents by meeting. So we have a curriculum update spreadsheet, right? It is a large spreadsheet that contains all the information, maybe for 2 years now at this point, 2 years worth, and it's organized in tabs. And it basically shows you how to find what's happening with courses, the latest alternate delivery items, new programs, things like that. The problem is, every time we put one up, we don't synthesize it. We don't have it all as one giant thing. It's either the meeting that took place in the fall, and here are the updates on those things, those items that were passed or approved or tabled in the fall. If it's the spring, it'll be up there as well. This is the spring folder. These are the things for those items. What we're going to do now, because we can't put it all together, it's just too much, it's too big, it'd be too huge. What we're going to do is we're going to create another small document right above that, and you'll be able to click on that, and we'll carry over items that are still pending. Because there are items and things that were approved at a previous meeting and are still kind of chugging along through the system, right? We have a new meeting, new items, new processes, and everybody goes, whatever happened to that program from, 2 semesters ago that was stuck, and where are we with that? And so we're going to create a status update sheet and carry over those items that are still pending. So whenever you need to see what's going on with your program, you'll see it. If you've been in there, you've seen that on the spreadsheet, we have all the information there as far as dates are concerned. Logistics, fire service, whatever the program may be, where it is. Has it been to the Board of Trustees? If yes, it'll say yes and dates. Did they vote and approve? Yes, date they voted and approved. Has it been to the state? Yes. Has it been approved? No. Once it's approved, we go in and update and say approved by the state on such and such date, and you'll see that, right? Next, does it require a SAC COC sub-change? Yes or no. If it does, we'll say yes, it's required. Here's the thing you need to know. Along with all the other changes that have happened, some of the things that have happened that have changed what I do is the role I play with SAC COC. I am no longer serving as the SACS TOC liaison. Dr. Garrett is. I am also not a part of the process for substantive change, so I cannot even tell you what's going on with that piece. The substantive changes are done, primarily it starts with you as department chairs and Dean Anderson, then it goes to Dr. Ady and Dr. Garrett, and they work on it together, and then they're the ones who submit it. So my knowledge and clarity of what's going on with the next piece is kind of blocked at that point. I can always follow up with it. I can support and help you if you're working on a substantive change piece. I am familiar with the rules, the guidelines, the process, the writing and things like that, but I do not officially work on the substantive change. So that's kind of something where you have to kind of go over to with Dean Anderson and work on that. So, but all we can do is kind of document where it is in the process. So if you're not sure or you don't remember because you're working on a whole bunch of other things, you can always log into SharePoint and take a look at the sheet and see where your stuff is. You know what else you can do? Just call us. Just call us and we'll go in and take a look and help you find it and say, okay, this is the last thing we're waiting for. One thing we will do as well is if we are waiting on something from you and we've contacted you and said, hey, okay, here we are. This is what we still need. We're still trying to do the packet so we can get it to the board, and we're missing the needs assessment or the program objectives or whatever. We're going to put it in the status box. Spoke with Professor so-and-so, such and such date, awaiting documents. So be aware of that. so when the phone calls come and they go, where's this program and what's going on? And we go in there, we're like, well, we're waiting on Professor so-and-so. And they go, what? Okay, I'll call them. And we're like, phew. Okay. They were like, call her and give her a heads up. Get a call. Sorry, right? Because we have to document where it is, and if we communicate with you, we try as much as possible. You'll even get follow-ups from us. You'll get an email and say, hey, just wondering where you're at in that process. We're still waiting on this, that, or the other thing. But you have to really take an active role in getting that piece done, or letting us know you need help. You let us know we need help, we will try to help you and try to get as much of it done as we can. Okay? But again, like I said, small office, few individuals for several processes, so we do as much as we can. But that is where we are. SharePoint is probably going to evolve even greater after this because Dr. Garrett loves it. She's the one who actually recommended that we use it in the first place. So be aware there's going to be a lot of stuff coming through SharePoint, FYI. And again, until we can actually create or get an actual repository or a place where we can put data and information and training materials and updates so that everyone can access it, we're going to use this because the website is just not structurally able to handle the information that we need to post out there. So we're using SharePoint to try to make sure we can stay on top of things. Any questions about SharePoint? Okay, Curriculum Review Committee meeting. The next meeting is February 22nd. You've already been receiving notices about it and updates about it. It's going to be at 2 p.m. It's always in the Starlight Conference Room. And did we send out Outlook invites already? Yes. And we sent out Outlook invites to all the committee members. And if you're not a committee member but you are presenting, then once you submit your information and we get your packet, we'll also invite you as well. Submission deadlines, it's February 1st to Dean Anderson, right? We keep stressing that because she's going to need time to review it, look at it, and then go over it with Dr. Ady, right? So we're trying to get it as much as out there as soon as possible. That's why we sent you kind of save the date back in December, because that process of her getting it through and getting it signed and moving it through there, she's going to need that time. So as soon as possible, get it submitted to her. She is aware that she should be receiving them. And actually, we've gotten quite, well, we've gotten most of them from Teresa, but Teresa, and talk to Teresa. Teresa's getting her stuff through. I don't know what the secret is, but you're doing it. You're making it happen. She's making it happen. So whatever she's doing, they're getting there. February 12th is when Dean Anderson is expected to give any that she has still left over to us. Because then what we have to do is add it to the agenda, prepare the agenda, and then we have to review the agenda with Dr. Garrett. Right? And then a lot of the times what happens is, even though she may have already signed off on your packets, once she gets the agenda and she sees what's on there, she sometimes wants to go back and look again. And if she looks again, there's a chance she might find something. If she finds something, she's going to need that time to be able to get with you and discuss. So we try to give as much cushion as we can, because the goal of this is once we get your program or course update, change, or proposal, we want to put it out there on SharePoint. When we put it out on SharePoint, we contact all the members and say, hey, some of the items that are up for review and discussion at the next CRC meeting are now available for you to review. if the committee members can review them in advance, then they can get back to you about things that they're noticing, because we don't want the CRC meetings to drag on and be these huge debates and things like that. It's like, hey, I just noticed this or I noticed that, and people can comment, and then we can get those comments back to you, and you can make any adjustments. You're like, oh, I just saw that, I missed that, good point, and get that done ahead of time. So when you get to the CRC meeting, all that should be left to do is vote, right? Of course, sometimes things get missed, somebody else brings something else up or things like that, but if we can get it through the process early enough and get everybody looking at it, touching it, reviewing, asking their questions, then it's ready to go and we can get it moving forward, right? The quicker we do that, the better the chances are of you getting your program or your course ready to go at the time that you want it ready. Some of the topics that are going to be discussed at this year's CRC are degree plans being distributed by departments. I mentioned that to you. That's something that Dr. Garrett wants to address. WECM and ACGM updates. It is so important to make sure that you're checking ACGM and or WECM. We look through it, we get I don't get the updates anymore. The updates go directly to Dr. Garrett. If she shares them with me, then I can share them with you. But we try to go through and look at things as much as possible, but you should be looking specifically for your department and your changes. Renee, I know you do that all the time. So, I mean, a lot of you do, but you go in and you look to make sure, because the truth of the matter is the best way, you might say, well, I don't really have anything I want to change in my program right now, so I'm not going to submit anything to CRC. But when you get those notices saying the CRC meeting is coming, that's when you should jump on WECM or ACGM and say, let me make sure I don't need to submit something to get an update going, or change something, or drop something, or move something around. That's the best time to go in and review to make sure everything is sound. If you don't have anything, great, you're good to go. But you don't want to you want to make sure that you're checking that before that next round of approvals comes through, right? Core curriculum changes, we will be talking about that at the CRC. I know I've gotten a couple of inquiries already because there are a lot of courses, particularly language courses, that are being dropped, and we're going to have to make some adjustments. And what those adjustments are, I can't say, right? At least not now. And catalog publishing date conflicts. Catalog publishing dates are changing, primarily because, and most of you probably know this already, at some point Student Services decided to, what's the word I'm looking for? Move up the registration dates. So I feel like we're always in registration. The problem is a lot of our processes are based on a cycle of registration, and by moving those dates way up, it's killing us. But because there's so many things that have to take place in a certain time period before registration, so we're really struggling. And now they're adjusting the catalog dates to try to address those increased, registration dates. And I don't know if moving registration up helped or hurt. I don't know, but I know it's hurting our processes and a lot of other people's processes. So we're just trying to adapt and adjust to that. Unfortunately, until they decide to move them back again, we're just going to have to adapt and try to address that. So an issue with the catalog publishing dates come up with a conflict, and Dr. Garrett wants to address that at the meeting as well. And basically what she wants to do is basically get everyone's input and ideas and thoughts kind of going about this, because I guess her biggest issue is that at this next meeting, once we put everything through, marketing wants to publish the catalog in April. But there are several programs and things that are not going to be approved by the state or SACS until after that date. And so that's posing them some conflict about how they're going to do this, how they're going to put this information out and things like that. So those are going to be some of the main topics. Upcoming, there's some stuff happening with the syllabus development, like I told you, but I'm not going to go into it because Leslie's going to go into it the next time she comes here to talk to you guys. Next briefing visit will be Leslie Magoo, coordinator of, coordinator of instructional services, and Kelly L. Kelly, institutional accountability specialist. They're going to talk to you about the syllabus development process and approval, what's happening with alternate delivery processing, not a big thing, just a minor tweak. Advisory and minute submission timetable, like we said, there's going to be an update to the timetable when you submit advisory minutes. Articulation agreement processing review, there are some minor changes, and there's some information that we don't think you guys might be aware of that you need to be aware of when it comes to the articulation agreements, especially crosswalks and one-for-one course transfer in your departments. Oh, and yeah, look at that.